Okay, so now that we've finished exercise 1 and 2, which was the box mounting and then the cable installation, next we'll go to exercise 3, which is the blue data and telephone piping. So we'll have some prefab that we're going to install and some greenfield. Let's go ahead and check out all the material associated. So the telephone and data is the same type of install as the rough in for the 120 volt power that we have over there, or power. So we have a single gang ring, a 1900 box like you've seen before. We have a greenfield connector that'll be installed with the data run. We have pipe clamps for the 3/4 greenfield. This is what they call greenfield. This is 3/4. This is the pathway for the data. We'll be pulling drag line, which is usually required on the drawings that we provide a drag line for the data contractor to pull their wire later. And then it's not here, but we already went over it. There's a couple different mounting. We can do this, the spreader bars that we showed you in the 3-box bracket. In this instance, we already have the bracket set up with the power. We're just going to be installing it in the adjacent opening, and we'll go over that next. So this is our prefab area of the trailer. So as you can see here on the drawings, it says D1 prefab. So if you look at the pipe, this one says D1. Normally when you're on a job site, we'll have a shipment come out with a lot of prefabricated material. In this instance, for this exercise, this is the D1. So we'll add this to our cart full of material for this exercise. Look at the drawings here. And as you can see, we have the 3-box bracket with our power already installed. If you look at it closely, the selection all the way on the right of the 3-box bracket is the selection that's going to have the greenfield. And the selection on the right of this setup is going to have the D1 prefab. So let's go ahead and install both. Okay, so we're going to go over something really important, the same with the cable, but it's a little bit different. Like we said earlier, MC cable supports are within 12 inches of the box and 6 foot between. Greenfield 350.30 says that it's 12 inches from the box and then 4.5 feet between supports. So let's go ahead and install. Okay, so when we install this, we're going to have to get above the ceiling, what you did with the cable. As you notice, there's a hole for the cable. The hole for the greenfield is obviously going to be bigger, so we're going to use a stud, what they call a stud punch. The way we're going to set up the hole, we see we got an obstruction here, so we don't necessarily want to go exactly off the stud the same distance. So since it's flexible, we can get away with just punching the hole, right off to the side of the obstruction. Okay, so this is how we put the stud punch in. Kind of open her up, put her inside the studs. That punches the hole through. Just like that. Okay, so we're going to be putting a drag line in the data conduit as requested on the drawings. We'll be using what they call fish tape. This is to push a piece of steel up through the pipe. That way we can pull the drag line in using the steel that we push in. So we'll go ahead, push the drag line through until it pops out. So we're pushing the fish tape through so we can attach our drag line. As you can see, it's already poking up to the accessible area to attach the drag line. Okay, so you see we have a hook on the end of the fish tape. We'll just put our drag line through just like that. Just tie a regular old knot. I generally just put one, but just to make sure, put 2. And then we would pull it back. Okay, so we're retracting the fish tape. I generally like to do it this way because it's better and cleaner than having the fish tape just all over the place, especially if you're in an area where there's energized parts. So just keep pulling it in, pushing that handle forward, hold the inside. Okay, there we go. So what we do now, take the drag line off. This is probably the most important part of this process, is tying this thing off so it doesn't get pulled out. Because worst thing is after it's all said and done and the data guy comes back to pull their wire and the drag line's been pulled out of the pipe. So you can either tie like a fender washer or something to the drag line so it doesn't get pulled up into the pipe, or you can tie it through the hole in the device plate. That's another thing. You can use your diagonal cutters to cut a really small, fine part in the drag line. So there you go. Along with having it tied in the box, you gotta tie the other end too. So you wanna tie it around the pipe itself. Just kind of like loop it around and just tie it nice, tight. Not that way, either way, it's not gonna get pulled out of the pipe. All right, let's move on to the D1 installation. This is the prefab assembly that you get at the front of the trailer. As you can see, the supports is kind of high on this. This is why 358.30 in the NEC for supports of EMT require that the box be supported within 3 foot and 10 foot thereafter. In this instance, you use common sense. I always like to use at least 2 supports within the cavity of the wall studs. So the way we like to do this on spreader bars is do what they call a saddle tie. You can take the tie wire, fold it in half, kind of make a U like that, take it around the pipe, bring it down, pull the loops up like this, and then I always like to give it a nice little tight, bring it down as far as you can, then fold it over like this, and then take your pliers, turn it once, and then pull it towards you. That way it gets really tight. If you just tie it around and it's loose, it defeats the purpose. Then just kind of check it, see how tight that is. And we would do the same thing on the top support. Okay, so now that completes exercise 3, data and telephone roughing. And as you can see, it's starting to come together here. You got your power and your data. Power, data, you got power here for a quad. All right, let's get into exercise 4, installing the devices.